Out of the darkness we came, into the darkness we shall go. How does a country who has mass destruction weapons and probably spends more money on defense, especially the budget, tell the Constitution the right to bear arms, put limitations on the citizens that's supposed to be the power and the people that they work for? You see, it has always been for people like me, meant for us to be defenseless, where we can't defend ourselves, so that we may be misused any way that the victors and the people who took this country want to have us. Whether by lynching, drowning, dragging, the use of weapons against weaponless people. Yeah, they conquered a lot of places, especially Africa, because they didn't have the weaponry. They were living what people call a jungle life, but they had plenty of food. They didn't have jails. They didn't have a lot of things that we have. But the question, and to put things in the right perspective, do you send troops into war without weapons that work? Yeah, we have done that. And if you don't do that to soldiers, why would you expect everyday people, working people, poor people, people on the margins, to walk through danger with nothing but hope and promise? Today, I listened to a ruling about guns and gun laws and that amendment, the Second Amendment, the one that speaks to the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and I walked away with two burdens on my spirit. 2 points that I need to speak with clarity, not cruelty or hate. Point one, why does power keep trying to narrow the rights of the people while expanding the power of those already owned by the state? Let's tell the truth plainly. The government already has force. The state has police. The state has tactical units. The state has prisons. The state has surveillance. The state has courts. The state has budgets. And who funds those budgets? You see, the state has immunity doctrines and legal protections that ordinary people do not have. So when they kill you, your brother, your sister, your mama, your children, they don't go to jail. So when laws are written and enforced in a way that shrinks the power of citizens but strengthens the power of the already powerful, that should trouble anybody who believes in liberty, no matter what their party, their zip code, their background, or their color. Because here is the honest fear behind the debates. When ordinary people are disarmed in practice, whether by law, by cause, by selective enforcement, or by intimidation, the gap widens between the protected and exposed. And who are we? And who tends to be the exposed? The non-rich, the neighborhoods that get over-policed and underserved, the people who are assumed guilty before they speak, the people who can't buy their way out of fear and private security, gated streets and influence. If a system says we will keep you safe, but the evidence in your lived experience says we will treat you as a threat, then people start asking the oldest political question in human history. And let me tell you, where I come from, they did not have no security gates. They used to have protect and serve on the side of police cars. They don't have that no more. But I told you it was about property and you property. Who is protected and who is controlled? And let me be very careful. I am not saying every law enforcement officer is wicked. I am not saying every person who supports gun regulation has evil motives. We are not here to demonize. We are here to demand consistency and justice. But we also must be honest enough to say if rights only operate fully for some people, if rights become something you can access only if you're wealthy, well-connected, or viewed as safe, then those rights are not rights anymore. They are privileges. And I didn't grow up believing the Constitution was a privileged document. I grew up believing that when it says the people, it meant the people. But I found out the truth. Not some of the people, not the comfortable people, not the connected people. It was supposed to apply to the people. But some of us are not the people. We are African people in America, and America has a history of demonizing black folks. My second point, why has disarmament so often been used to keep African people defenseless and then blamed for not being protected? Now let's go deeper, because history has receipts. Across generations, black communities in this country have learned a harsh lesson. When you are seen as disposable, you are rarely protected on time. We remember eras where towns were attacked and burned. We remember churches destroyed. We remember families terrorized. We remember bodies hanging from trees while crowds treated it like entertainment. That is not ancient history. That is part of the moral DNA of this nation. And what makes it worse, what added insult to injury, was that too often the system has and was supposed to protect everybody, protected selectively. Too often, the powerful looked away. Too often, the investigation was slow. Too often, the punishment was light or non-existent. Too often, the message was clear. Your life is negotiable. And when people learn that the law won't protect them equally, they start building protection with whatever tools they are legally allowed to use. Community organization, mutual aid, political power, and yes, lawful self-defense. Let me say that carefully. Lawful self-defense. Stop you from hanging from a tree. Stop you from being burned, because the goal isn't violence. The goal is life. The goal isn't revenge. The goal is deterrence. The goal isn't to become the thing that hurts you. The goal is to stop being a permanent victim class in your own homeland. Now, I know some people get nervous when black folks talk about self-defense. People get nervous when black folks talk about self-defense. But notice something. When other groups say we will defend our homes, it gets called responsibility. When black folks say the same thing, it is called a threat. The double standard is not an accident. It is a pattern, and its pattern has consequences. It encourages the world to believe black folks must rely on protection that too often arrives late, arrives rough, or doesn't arrive at all. So here's the moral question we must put on the table. How can society demand a people to remain defenseless while also refusing to defend them? That is not peace. That is vulnerability by design. Rights without equal protections are a lie told politely.